Welcome to Roofing Road Trips, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling journey across the world of roofing. From fascinating interviews with roofing experts to on-the-road adventures, we'll uncover the stories, innovations, and challenges that shape the rooftops over our heads. So fasten your seatbelts and join us as we embark on this exciting roofing road trip.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Roofing Road Trips from Roofers Coffee Shop. My name's Karen Edwards, and I'm your host today, and I'm really excited to be talking about one of the most important topics in the roofing industry, and that is safety. And I am thrilled to welcome Ro Lewis from Tremco. Ro is an expert at Tremco and in all things safety. And so we're really glad to have you here today for this important topic. Welcome, Ro.
Thank you, Karen. And I got to tell you, I always enjoy my time with Roofers Coffee Shop and just spending time with you guys. I just love your mission and the things that you do. So I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. And vice versa, which is, like I said, one of the most important topics in the roofing industry is safety. And Tremco has just, people listening to this can't see this, but you're wearing a Lead with Safety shirt right now for Tremco because that is just part of Tremco's mission. And I'd like you to tell our listeners, just introduce yourself and explain what you do there at Tremco and what your involvement is in the safety initiatives.
Sure. Thanks, Karen. So as you mentioned, I'm Ro Lewis. I'm the executive director of the health, safety, and environmental team for Tremco CPG Field Services. The Field Services division comprises nearly 2,000 employees globally, comprised of, experienced field techs and construction leaders across diversified building solutions offerings, right? So, of course, we're a roofing organization, but we've branched out into other areas. However, the roofing piece of the business just so happens to be the lion's share of the conglomerate. So in all, there are 6 businesses under the umbrella, and the global footprint reaches both Canada and the UK. So as you can imagine, there are numerous assets to protect across the board, with the most significant asset for us, at least in our mind, being our phenomenal workforce. So as the head of the safety team, I'm responsible for the overall strategy and implementation of corporate safety initiatives and comprehensive implementation of core safety practices and principles, which include, by the way, continually building, growing, and driving our robust safety culture throughout the business. So, I have to say this, I partner with my amazing safety team of now, we've grown to a team of 16 in this effort, and they are the most, intelligent, hardest working group of safety professionals I know. So, and we often tell people, when you get one of us, you get all of us. So without these remarkable individuals, the company's thriving safety culture would not be realized.
Wow. I know we've talked before in past years and written about the safety culture there. And there was nowhere near 16 people, I think, a few years ago.
Right.
So tell our listeners a little bit about how you got into the role that you're in right now. What's your journey? How did you get involved so passionately in safety?
Well, it's sort of a weird journey. I was in school actually to become an electrical engineer, and went through the painstaking journey of going through, all of my calc courses, calc 1, 2, 3, and then differential equations. And that was all fine. And, and I finally moved past all of that, the weeding out phase, and did well with it and got into my major classes. And I never forget, I had to take solids and statics. And I said, oh my God, wait a minute, stop. I cannot do this the rest of my life. This is not what I thought it was going to be. And so here I am. I've passed all of these courses, and I have no direction as to where I'm going. So I had a friend in school that says, "Hey, have you ever thought?" You said engineering. Have you ever heard of safety engineering? And I'm like, no, I didn't even know what OSHA was. Even though, I had folks that were around me that were in the construction industry, I still didn't know what this safety deal was. And so I went and met with the dean of the program at my school. Shout out to Grand Valley State University. And he said, you know what? with these courses that you have, I can't believe you're coming to talk to me. So I'm going to let you take the Intro to Safety course, right? It's like OSH 100, OSH 100. And if you feel that you like it and you want to stick with it, I'll let you stay in the program. And it just changed my whole way of thinking about accidents and incidents and how things can be prevented, and just shaped my mind in a different way. And the rest is history. And so then from there, I took an internship with a company called Walbridge Aldinger right out of Detroit. At the time, it was Walbridge Aldinger. It's Walbridge now. And just learned all that I could learn there, and just kind of went up the ranks as a safety engineer. And the rest is history. I ended up coming to Tremco, and been here about 11 years, and just wanted to help to shape what we now experience as a safety culture.
Wow. Yeah. So you mentioned OSHA in there, and there's a love-hate, I think, with OSHA. Their safety comes first. They're here to help us and protect us. And one thing that OSHA does every year is they have a safety stand down, which is a week to just kind of create awareness.
Sure.
And just another opportunity for education. How does Tremco participate in this, and why is it important for the industry overall?
Well, as you know, and most people know, annually OSHA, along with several partnering organizations, they spearhead a national safety stand down, which initially was to prevent falls in construction, truthfully, in all industries, quite honestly, and encourage employers to participate by hosting a stand down to discuss fall protection and safety when working from heights. And this year is going to take place the week of May 6th, the 6th to the 10th. And companies can participate however they choose. It's obviously a vital discussion for the roofing industry, right? Because the subject is right in our wheelhouse. I mean, every day we're asking employees to work at heights and roof edges and climb all types of ladders and expose themselves to fall hazards on a regular basis. I mean, just think about how many times a work crew of maybe 4 that we may send out, how many times they travel up and down a ladder daily, right? It's absolutely our duty. It's really our primary responsibility to not only discuss fall safety, but to also invest significantly in training our people on how to continually implement the appropriate precautions and safe work measures to prevent falls and injuries. And so that sometimes and oftentimes can become fatal. So it's a hands down imperative, and should be approached seriously in a two-way discussion, right? You can't just talk at people. They have to be involved in the conversation so that it can just land and make sure that it resonates as a part of their psyche. So I think it's vitally important.
Yeah, that's a two-way conversation is so important, because if you're talking at somebody, it's probably not gonna sit. It's just gonna kind of go in one and out the other.
Yeah.
And engaging them and being involved is so important. So how does Tremco, you call it a global safety stand down? What does Tremco do not only during this week but year round?
Well, it's funny that you framed it in that vernacular. You started off talking about our mantra. Our foundational safety mantra is lead with safety. And, overall, especially in the roofing industry, that's a pretty bold statement, right? And it's really a lofty ideal to subscribe to when considering all aspects of our business, right? We're so multi-dimensioned. So the safety department felt that though we fully support OSHA's effort, and we absolutely will participate in May for the stand down. But we thought that the stand down simply wasn't enough, right? To fully express the importance that we place on being a safe company and providing a safe work environment for our team members. So last year, we introduced a new safety initiative to the organization, and that was the inaugural Tremco Field Services Global Safety Week, where our Safety Week is an annual event. So it's almost part 2 of the stand down that we have in May. But it's an annual event aimed at providing our people an opportunity to focus on our comprehensive safety culture and examine and actually celebrate our employees' daily safety performance, which impacts them, it impacts their families, it impacts our organization. and the communities in which we work. So it also fortifies our resolve to kind of remain united in our commitment. I mean, we're really committed to this thing, and to see the growth that's been involved with all of the cultural practices and the workplace environments that we create. It's just been phenomenal. So it's a celebratory week across the board that now serves as, like I said, part 2 of our official participation with the standout efforts. But we're doing it our own way.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about, successful outcomes, impactful stories. You've been there 11 years. Your team has grown and grown. What are some anecdotes maybe that you could share how it's made a difference?
There's both short-term and long-term outcomes that have been pretty impactful. I think looking back over the years, the journey in itself has been the best anecdote I think I could provide, because it's seeing the aha moments of our people, right? And that's our people at every level. I'm talking about from the corporate C-suite level all the way down to the first day tech, who, we've grown to a point where, and this is not a, pat on the back. It's just the reality of it, that we've grown to a point where folks come in and they work for us for about 6 months and says, oh my God, I've never worked for a roofing company that talks about safety this much, or demands or mandates this much from us. And when we say mandate, is not, a stick and a carrot type deal where we're just kind of always barking or Bible thumping, as you will. They see that we genuinely care about their well-being. And so even with the safety week, right? They come together and they converge all, in Canada, in the UK, wherever we have a business unit or a region that falls under the field services umbrella. That team and that region comes together centrally. Sometimes our regions are so large that they have to split it up, and they will make it a 2, 3, 4-day event, but make sure that everyone is actually involved. And when they see the level of investment that we place into them to celebrate them, and I mean, there's food trucks, there's vendors coming from everywhere, there's, and this year we want to make it even greater. They see that we really, really care about their well-being. And I think that is all I need, right? That they fully understand that safety is vital, understand the gravity of it, and understand that we want them to go back home. The full mantra that we added on to is not only lead with safety, but so that you can end with family, right? And we put it in that perspective so they can see it through that lens.
Yeah. So how have you seen the safety initiative at Tremco evolve in your time there? And where do you see it going? Like how
Yeah.
do you sustain it?
Yeah, sustainability is something, like I said, I've been here 11 years, and I've watched the progression of the safety culture here permeating into the fabric of our corporate structure. And that has, it's one thing to just talk about it. Oh, that only relates to them out in the field, give them a hard hat, give them some gloves, that's not where we are. It's really permeated into the fabric. And so it's permeated into our go-to-market strategy and our embracing it as really the cornerstone of our business. And, that's not hyperbole, right? It's a real palpable thing, and safety is more prevalent, in the organization now than it's ever been. So, and that's not to say that we've arrived. We still have a long way to go, and we have many new initiatives on the horizon. But if I would tell you, Karen, if you took a survey of a microcosm of our folks and just asked them to tell you about our safety culture, right? And that would be from, our most senior leader in the organization down to the tech in their first year, they would be able to do so probably ad nauseum without a second thought, right? And I think it's largely because we place such a great emphasis on being safe, not just impacting them, but the result of it impacting their families, how it impacts our business so that they can continue to thrive, our communities and our clients. And, they get that their individual success or safety success builds the success of the whole. And they, for the most part, feel sort of beholden to that. And so that's how I think it's really kind of morphed. When you ask, where is it going? I think the participatory aspect of it, where folks are literally wanting and asking, what can I do? What can I do more? How can I be involved more? That has been a just wonderful thing to see and to watch, because we recently just started our health and safety committee in the organization, which you don't really see in a whole lot of construction organizations. You may see it in the
Right.
manufacturing environment, but not really in a lot of construction. And I mean, you should just see it was difficult paring down the pool of folks that applied to be a part of the safety committee down to just 13 people, right? And you think 13, yeah. I mean, there were, I think, over 200 folks that literally jumped in and says, hey, I want to do this. And there were folks there were director level, there were tech level, there was supervisory level, all across all of our business units. So that's just one example. I could go on, but that's just one example.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I've talked to many of the team over the years, and they all have talked about the safety just being outstanding, unsurpassed. Not only do you equip them with the right gear and tools and shoes and everything, but the entire culture. And so, how in talking about if someone's listening to this right now and they really want to, yeah, they have a toolbox talk once a week or whatever, and they talk. But how do you really get that safety ingrained? Where does that start? And what are some of the challenges that you even had to overcome in your journey to get where you are today?
Yeah, I think the misnomer about safety, Karen, is that it's a policing activity. You do what I say do, you do it now, and oh, by the way, it's for your good. And so many safety programs take that approach. And quite honestly, from in the beginning, of really building this thing out, we sort of had that approach where, it's just always a stick. And we had to move away from that and learn that we're talking to people, right? We're not talking to kids. We're talking to professional adults that have feelings, that have thoughts, that have opinions about better ways to do it. And oh, by the way, they're the ones actually doing the work, right? They're the boots on the ground that have tool in hand. And so we just figured we had to listen to them. And what we learned is that, yes, they understood safety was important. No, we don't believe that anybody comes to work just says, hey, I'm just going to go and break a leg today, right? Or I'm just going to go and be obstinate. We don't believe that. But we do believe that production pressures and, getting things done can sometimes be the antithesis of them actually operating in a safe manner. And so we had to find that balance there, right? And what we did was said, okay, we understand where you're coming from. So we're going to empower you, right? Some folks feel intimidated when they see something wrong. I can't tell my boss that I'm not supposed to be doing this, or we were trained the wrong way. So our biggest campaign concerning safety now, or initiative, is our Stop Work Authority program, where we have empowered anyone in the organization. And when I say anyone, I mean anyone, no matter his or her position, title, seniority. They have the right and actually the duty to apply Stop Work Authority if, in their judgment, an activity is felt to be unsafe or risky. And what we've exercised is no one exercising that Stop Work Authority in good faith will be blamed or disciplined, even if upon investigation, the stop work was deemed unnecessary, right? We've found a way to empower our people to speak up. And what we've learned is 8 to 9 times out of 10, when they do that, they've prevented something that could have been gravely injurious, or that could have even been remotely harmful to any of the people on their teams out in the field. That has been pivotal for us.
Wow. Yeah, because I can imagine, especially maybe you haven't been there that long, or you're, entry level, and it can be hard to speak up and say something to your supervisor or to the foreman on that job. And I personally would be afraid to do that. So I think it's really important to send that message across. And maybe if I experienced it, then I might feel a little more comfortable doing that on my own. But how How hard is that? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to say how often does it happen, because we don't want to say there's a lot of things, but are you seeing that people feel able to speak up
It takes
and
courage.
question?
It takes courage. And at first, I got to tell you that when we started the initiative or introduced the initiative a few years ago, there was not much traction because of the very thing you just said. And the one thing that, if I could say this to any other organization, and many organizations that have a successful safety culture already know this, if you do not have top-down leadership support, you don't have a functional safety program, right? The C-suite levels of the organizations have to be fully bought into, embrace, and actually understand the reasoning behind the necessity for safety. And that's one thing that I'm grateful that we enjoy here in this organization, because to combat that kind of uneasiness, we've had everyone from our group president, Paul Hogan-Boom, to our president at the time, J.K. Milliken, now our president, Krista Gannett, our executive vice president, Marty Billingsley. They literally get, on video, in discussions, in meetings, and articulate the fact that they have endowed them with stop work authority. That's different than a safety guy coming and saying, hey, you can stop this. No, when the executive vice president or the president of this organization says, hey, you, first day tech, you can tell me that I need to put my hard hat on when I come to this job and I don't have it on, that broke the tension a bit. And it empowered the folks to know that, no, these folks really mean this. And our Stop Work Authority's reports and submittals has increased over 300% over the last 2 years. And so, and that's not saying, it went from 1 to 300. I mean, literally, it's been exponential, with the understanding that they really can help to make things better on the site. And it gives them buy-in, quite honestly.
Yeah. So, and most of what we've been talking about has been on a job site or in the field, but the same culture exists in the office, right?
Yeah.
You think, well, how's somebody going to get hurt in the office? Well, they could trip over a
Sure.
cord running across a walkway. What does that look like inside your offices, the safety culture?
It's a little bit different post COVID, right? I mean, if you go to our Beechwood headquarters, I remember when I first came to the organization, I actually had to move to Cleveland and resided in the office there, and it was just bustling. I mean, people everywhere, voices everywhere. Down in the cafe, you're seeing people. And then post-COVID, you don't see as many people. So we have a lot of folks working remotely, but that does not lessen the messaging of the importance of safety, even from home, right? And I start the statement in that manner because I just recently made an appeal to the entire organization to come back to the basics. We have signs in every one of our meeting rooms in our headquarters that says, hey, are you leading a meeting? Lead the meeting with safety. Meaning when you first start this meeting off, your first conversation point is something regarding safety, right? And because we're, even in the way that we're doing this podcast now, you're in your location, I'm in my home, but I don't care if your husband or your wife is out doing something in the yard, right? Talk about a safety moment with them. Talk about anything that's pertaining to safety that's in your world. It does not matter. And what that does is it gives you the mindset that safety is always foremost. And it's not, safety first. No, it means that we are leaders. We're leading the industry. And the only way to do that is to lead it with safety. And so we come back to that understanding to be able to say, if you're in the office, if you're at home in a remote office, this is still going to be our focus.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just had me thinking there like, oh yeah, like put your sunscreen on because you're going to go mow, put your hat on, wear your safety glasses, right?
Absolutely. Well, I had a person not too long ago, one of the employees that had this exact same question. I saw your video, Ro. I really want to engage. I believe she was an administrator for one of our regions. I want to do this, but how do I do this? I work from home. And I gave her the easy example. It does not matter. I said, if you have young ones in your home and you need a fire escape plan, right? Talk about how you went through the fire escape regimen with your daughter or your child or whomever. with your family. That's a safety moment, but the overarching theme is to ensure that you keep it top of mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I love it. I love that. And it makes me want to do it. You're very inspirational. And I'm going to think about that
Oh, wow.
next time I'm leading a meeting for sure. If roofing companies really want to participate more, if they want to have their own stand down, if they want to really embrace this culture, do you have tips for success? How do they get started doing more?
Yeah, I think I alluded to it in our conversation. The first thing I think that we would need to do, or the company would need to do, is have the serious conversation with their
Right.
leadership, their very senior, most senior leadership, and say, look, this is the vision. Um, Safety is an investment. It's an investment in the company. It's an investment in get work opportunities, business development. You have to be compelling in that regard for them to fully understand it in the language that they speak. But also from the perspective of, oh, by the way, we're protecting our greatest asset in the organization. Once you've had those conversations and you sort of create that, crack in the door and you get your foot in there, then you have to go to your boots on the ground leaders, your mid-level leaders, which is where really the most responsibility reside. If you are a safety manager or director that you don't have a large safety team and it's really on you to drive that culture, you need help. And your biggest help is going to have to come from your mid-level leaders. So you really have to create an embrace of your message, of your goals, for the people and for the organization as it relates to safety with them, have it resonate and have them to undergird you in those efforts. And then lastly, of course, you have to appeal to those that are actually doing the work and say, hey, look, this is the new way that we need to approach this. And help them to understand all of the things we sort of talked about in the conversation. It's a tiered level. And then first thing, you really have to be committed to it if you're leading the effort.
Wow. This was such a great conversation. It's so impressive, the safety culture that you have helped to create at Tremco and that everyone embraces there. And I really hope that someone listening today took away a few nuggets that they can start maybe creating that same culture in their business and in their company. Ro, thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and to folks at Tremco to hear what's going on out there.
Thanks, Karen. Thank you so much. And once again, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Be sure to follow us on social media. You can listen to other episodes of Roofing Road Trips wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're on every platform out there, and follow along so you don't miss a thing. And we will see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
If you've enjoyed the ride, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us on every roofing adventure. Make sure to visit rooferscoffeeshop.com to learn more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next Roofing Road Trip.